Good morning, Harefield, and welcome to another thought for the week. I hope your week is going well, and I hope you are praising God. I was just thinking what to do today, and I was thinking back to what Barry was speaking about on Sunday, which is about the preparations, the planning permission, the preparations made for the temple. Now, the temple that Solomon built was allegedly the best and the biggest and the most lavish temple that there ever was, and of course Solomon didn't make all the plans for it. That was done by David, his father, who really wanted to build the temple himself, but God said to him, no, you're not to do it, because you've been involved in so many battles and there's been so much blood in your hands that you shouldn't do it. And I was just thinking about this a little bit, and I thought I'd just look up the verse that sort of refers to this, and it's in 1 Chronicles, and it says this: David said, "My son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for the Lord should be of great magnificence and fame and splendour in the sight of all the nations. Therefore I will make preparations for it." So David made extensive preparations before his death. And it's kind of almost like David is kind of saying, yeah, my boy, this young whippersnapper hasn't really got a clue how to do it. I'm the one who really ought to be doing it. And, well, I suppose I have to do what God says, and I'll make the preparations. I'm going to make it so that it's like a kind of Airfix kit that goes together later on. All the bits are going to be there. All he has to do is to get his people to put it together. So I'm doing all the... See, what it really needs is the old hands, the old experienced people like me. And if only God would see it my way, then I would be building the temple, but he doesn't. I might be being unfair on David in that respect. But it's kind of like, yeah, my son Solomon, he's young and inexperienced. He's just a little upstart, you know, he's the Johnny come lately. And I will do all the prep for him. In this pandemic that we're going through, you see around the world, actually the same slogan is being used, and I'm afraid it's to do with that great reset I was talking about. The term is build back better. Now, nobody BBB, build back better, you know, and I've heard Justin Trudeau saying it, and I've heard Joe Biden saying it, and I've seen Boris Johnson saying it. Well, the New Zealanders have a little slightly different take on it, and they say something like "bold beck bitter," but then they always have trouble with their vowels in New Zealand. No offence to any Kiwis here. And of course, you can't argue with the fact we need to build back better. And I think that's what David wanted to do. He wanted to build a really great house for God, because that's going to be the place where God dwells. And it got me to thinking that actually we all ought to be doing things like that. We ought to be making preparations. We ought to not to leave the building work completely unattended to for the next generation. And Barry and I were in the same year at school, in fact in the same class for much of our secondary school. And that was a long time ago, and we're getting on. We aren't here forever. And I was challenged by this, that actually we do need to help to build God's kingdom for the time we're here. Not to leave it in rack and ruin, not to make any preparations, but build something which is built to last. We need to pass the baton on. We won't finish the work, none of us will, and we all need to do that. We all have a part of it. It is not just the elders who have to do everything. It is you as a member of God, of the body of Christ, a member of his church. We do need to make preparations for the future, because we are only here for a short time. We need to pass the baton on, but we also need to make the preparations. We won't see the work finished unless Jesus comes and takes us, all those who love him and belong to him, to be with him before we die. But time is short, and we need to be aware that Jesus is coming back. We need to make the preparations. We mustn't be arrogant in the fact that we know it all, because those of us who are a bit older, we know it all, because we don't. And we do need to know when to pass on the task. So I just leave you with that thought. God's kingdom, God's temple needs to be a place that is so great, because we worship a great God, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He loves you. He knows you. He wants you to love him and to do what you can for him with his help while you're here. So I just leave you with that thought. You know, you hear the slogan, build back better, but let's rise up and build something that will last. And let's make preparations for the future, because God has plans for all of us. Bless you all. Have a wonderful week, and see you on Sunday.